been a common thread with most of the drivers I've talked to this weekend is understeer, especially right here in the hairpin, getting the front to work. We heard some radio communication earlier about stiffening the rear bar. Brian Barnhart talking to Lundgaard about trying to get the back of the car to stand up more and help it turn, help the front end be a little bit sharper, but it's not just Alex Palou. We understand Colton Herta with some issues. Let's listen.
It's definitely not broken. Copy. Damper channels all look fine. It's so loose in the right hander, so that big understeer on the left.
So that's Colton talking about a handling imbalance. He said it's so loose in the right-handers and understeer in the left, or was it the other way around? I forget already.
That's what he said.
But that's a tough situation. So he was asking if one of the dampers had failed. That's something that can sometimes happen in these bumpy street tracks, especially when you've got big curb strikes like right there in turn 5. But when you have an inconsistent balance left to right, that's one of the biggest challenges for a driver.
Colton Herta got into the wall with his race car early on in the weekend.
Look how bad that car's bouncing when he turns the wheel, too.
And then he got into the back
not good at all.
of Jacob Abel this morning in the warm-up. So the Cambridge Honda has seen some wall banging so far this weekend. Hopefully he's able to drag this thing to the finish, but Colton Herta not the kind of day so far he was expecting after starting on the front row.
Yeah, they started first, second and fifth. They run at the moment third, 9th and 14th, the 3 Andretti Global cars. But it's Stingray Rob who still leads from Robert Schwartzman. A word for Rob, who's moved to Hunkost this year, feels much more at home, really enjoying his time there. They brought on Adam Carroll, former racer, as we sit on board courtesy of Goodhart once again. Adam Carroll, brilliant racing driver, won the A1 GP title for Ireland, raced in Formula 3. Nice move again from Stingray Rob as he now sides his way through the lapped cars. And Adam's been brought on as a driver coach for Stingray Rob, helping him to just put things together this season, still so young in his career. Connor Daly, of course, his teammate, son of Formula 1 and Indycar driver Derek Daly. And there is Stingray Rob, his first season with Hunkost Hollinger, named after the Chevy Corvette Stingray. There you go. Not after the Chevy and the
Chevy Corvette Stingray
of the same name, which I thought he should have always liveried his cars like that. Anyway, leading the race, doing a fantastic job right now, Stingray Rob. The 4th IndyCar race he has led in his career, and doing so with some aplomb, still in the mid-1 minute 9s. Very tidy job, looking in control, and I don't think, guys, he needs to come in for at least another 7 or 8
Stingray Rob.
That sun really has come out. It's perfect.
You guys remember who drove the 77 car? Dan Weldon.
Guy who's on a
prefab. So it's Kirkwood ahead of Palou and Rosenquist. It's back to as you were. But these strategies are ebbing and flowing, and still no clear winner. Turning the car a few laps ago, that appears to have settled itself down, but as we move into the 57th lap here, we welcome fans who are joining us after a very emotional day in Bristol. Kyle Larson, dominant on a day, of course, where we recognised on this broadcast the loss of John Edwards, who was so important to Kyle Larson and his team. Guys, a recap of this race. There was an all-Andretti front row, and a great race to follow from there.
Well, Kyle Kirkwood just simply took ownership of this race at the beginning. Joseph Newgarden pitting super early to get rid of those soft tires. Colton Herta would follow suit just a few laps later. The Cambridge team get it done on pit lane. So does Scott Dixon. Little different strategy there. He went longer on the hard tires. Little issue on his right rear. Those are the converging strategies as we get down the stretch.
And here it is. You're going to see Christian Lundgaard emerging from the pit lane behind Kirkwood and Palou. He was the leader on that alternate strategy. He's done a great job right now running in 4th, having started all the way back in 12th.
We sit on board with Carl Kirkwood, driver's eye camera.
Hear that little lift, little fuel save on the back straightaway. We're at lap 57. That's 33 laps to the finish. We expect the final stint. If you're really pushing, you might want to leave yourself 28 laps to get it done. So maybe 4 or 5 more laps before these leaders start to pit. He's got position.
Side by side.
High percentage move there from Newgarden to
Francesco
back out.
Bernoulli.
Callum Ilott in the Prema car coming through. So something interesting here on the pit stop. Look at Joseph Newgarden waving frantically. There's an issue. Seatbelt, perhaps. Is it possible that Newgarden had a seatbelt coming loose like his teammate Will Power did at the end of last season in Nashville?
I can't see that based on how they were reaching in there. But Kev, 7's in.
Christian Lundgaard making his final stop. By the way, the last to win a race for this team, other than Pato O'Ward, is you, James Hinchcliffe.
That is true. That is true. Some years ago, Kev, but we did it here once, back in 2017. And I really like the strategy these guys did. Christian was quick all weekend long. You know, I've been really harping on how impressed I've been with his transition to McLaren. This is a car that has been a struggle for other guys to drive other than Pato O'Ward. This team's been built around him. The setup's been